Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome back. Now I want to show us how I draft my basic block. That is a basic bodice block for my blouse. So the measurements we'll be needing for this very tutorial, we have everything here. So we have shoulder, which is shoulder to shoulder measurements, 15 inches. We have bust measurement. My bust measurement is 36. My waist measurement is 29. The hip measurements is 38. My shoulder, from the shoulder to my waistline, which is half length, is 15 inches. My blouse length is 21. Sometimes I use 22, but because of this paper, I'm going to stick to 21 inches. And my armhole circumference, taking this round the armhole, is 15 inches. Those are the measurements we'll be working with. I have my paper here, which is my pattern paper. I have my pattern master here. Can you see it? I have my scissors here, paper scissors. I have my marker here, and of course my tape measure. Okay, so I'm going to start drafting. Now, the first thing I have to input here, the first measurement is my shoulder measurement. And don't forget, my shoulder measurement is 15 inches. So I have to divide this by 2. I have to divide my 15 inches, the shoulder measurement, by 2. And I'm going to be dividing the bust by 4, waist by 4, hip by 4. Now, my shoulder to shoulder measurement, which is 15 divided by 2, will give me 7.5. And the bust divided by 4, which is 36 divided by 4, will give me 9 inches. Waist measurement, which is 29 divided by 4, will give me 7.25. That is 7.25. 7.25. Now, the first thing I have to input here is my shoulder measurements. So to do that, I have to take my tape measure and mark 7.5 here. Can we see this is a 7.5. This is my 7.5. And from here I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. Can we see it? You can use half inch, you can use 1 inch. Sometimes I use half inch because this depends on how slopey the shoulder is. Okay, so from here I'm going to divide my, can you see my armhole circumference by 2, and I have a 7.5. So from this 1 inch I'm going to take down 7.5. So if I add 1 inch to to 7.5, that will give me 8.5. But for this very tutorial I'm going to stick to half inch because I use half inch for myself. You can as well use 1 inch. So half inch plus 7.5, that gives me 8 inches. 8 inches. It gives me 8 inches. If I'm using 1 inch, I'm going to be adding 1 inch plus 7.5. That will give me 8.5. But for this very one, I'm using 7.5. So this 7.5, I have to confirm it here. Can we see it? I have to retake that 7.5 here and mark. Can you see it? So the first thing, I'll have to rule this 8 inches across to the, I'm starting from the center back. So you can as well start from the center front, all depends on those. Okay, let me just start from the center front. So from here I have to connect to half inch here. If you're using 1 inch, you connect to that 1 inch there. So I'm going to just roll from that place, from that point there. Can you see it? I'm rolling from that point. Okay, so after that I'm going to be marking, going in 1 inch here for my going in diagonally 1 inch for covering my armhole. Now whatever I have here, can you see 7.25? I'll be folding into 2, that is divided by 2, and mark out. After that I'm going to come in by half inch. I'm going in by half inch. Can you see? That's half inch. Then I'm going to grab my pattern master and connect. So I'm connecting the 3 points together. I'm connecting, can you see these 2 points from this point to this 1 inch here, then making sure that my cuff sits on, can we see it, making sure it sits on, you can either use any, can you see it, making sure it sits on the arm, can you see it sits on this chest line. This is my chest line. So I'm going to connect like so. Can you see it? After connecting here, I will bring it up, bring my curve up and connect back to that shoulder slope. That is ½ inch. We went down ½ inch, so I'm going to come down like so. Can you see it? That is my hammer. Now this is my center back. This is my center back. What I have to do, you can as well leave your 1½ inch for zipper allowance if you like, but for this very one, you know, I'm just showing us how to draft the basic block. I can, you know, just place it on my, by the time I place it, you know, on my fabric, I can add to it, because this very one I'm not going to add anything. I'm not adding any, you know, any allowances. Now from this point here, I'm going to be marking my, you know, marking my neckline 3 inches. The width is 3 inches, while the depth is 1 inch. 3 inches, the depth is 1 inch. Then I'm going to be using my curve to connect this. Can you see this? So just like so, and I'm going to be, you know, connecting my shoulder slope like so. Can we see this? So that is my shoulder slope there. This is my ½ inch. Now after that, I have to insert my bust measurement. This is a chest line. So this chest line, I will insert my bust measurement. That is 9 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 9 inches. Then from this point, from the shoulder line, I'm going to be marking, can you see it's shoulder line? This is 15 divided by, sorry, shoulder to waist measurement is 15 inches. So this shoulder to waist measurement divided by 2, that's, sorry, the shoulder measurements, I'm taking the shoulder measurements from here. The shoulder measurement is 15. So from here downward. Now I'll be adding ½ inch to it because we're still going to join the shoulder. That is why I'm adding ½ inch. So I'm starting from the tip of the paper, 15½. So I'll be marking 15½, like so, 15½, and make sure that I roll it across. Can you see it? And the next thing I'll be marking is my blouse length, which is 21. Now this time around, I'm going to be adding to my 21. I'll be adding 1 inch to join the shoulder and 1 inch to, you know, to turn the hemline. That will give me, sorry, ½ inch to join the shoulder and the ½ inch to turn the hemline. So that will give me 1 inch. So 1 plus 21, that gives me 22 inches. So I will go ahead and mark 22 inches. So 22 inches, the standard measurement for, you know, blouse length, especially for someone with a flat tummy, is 22 inches, while for someone with a protrude tummy is 24 to 25 inches standard. So I will go ahead and mark, you know, roll across like so, and also come to this place and roll across, and we see this. Okay, so now on this is a waistline and this is a blouse length. You can, okay, so now I'm going to impute the waist measurement. Waist measurement is 29 divided by 4. That gives me 7 1/4. So I'm going to be marking 7¼ here. Can we see 7¼ then on my blouse length here I'm going to blouse line, can you see, which is the hemline, I'm going to be marking hip divided by 4, which will give me 9.5, that is 9½. So this 9.5, I have it here, can we see it? That is a 9.5 there. So now I'll be adding my size seam allowance. You can do it without adding your size seam allowance, you can add whatever you like. Okay, so first I'm going to connect, but before connecting I'll add the seam allowance, you understand. So the standard is 1½. Can you see it's 1½ also here, but sometimes we don't really need it, so I'm just going to leave it there. So I will connect the first line, which is this one, the blue measurement. So I'm drafting like this, I'm going to draw it like this. Can you see it's very close to this point here? And you know my hip, the hip, I'm going to be placing the curve like this. Can we see it? I'm going to be placing my curve like this. Can we see? Then on this end, because I wouldn't want to have a, what do you call it, a sharp shape there. So all I have to do is just to kind of, you know, just curve it. It's very easy to do. Can you see it? So that you won't have any sharp shape there. So I will do the same thing for the seam allowance. Can you see it? And then also connect this. Okay, so I have that here. Can we see what I'm having? Now I'll go ahead and draft the front. Now to draft the front, this is the biggest measurements that we're having at the hemline. So I'm going to take the measurements here. We're having like 11 inches. Can we see this? We're having 11 inches. So this 11 inches is what I'm going to transfer to this side. So from here, I'm going to mark that 11 inches. So from this point here, I'm marking 11 inches because we're using the same measurement here. So 11 plus 11 inches, I'll be having 22 inches. So this 22 inches, I'm going to mark it here, you understand, so that I can have a straight line. So I'm going to also mark it here because I want to roll, you know, roll out a straight line. Now that I'm having this, can you see it? Now that I'm having this, all I have to do is to connect this on a straight line, straight up. So this becomes my center front. So this is my center front. Now all I have to do is to extend all the lines. So this is the waistline, I'm extending the waistline. This is the chest line. Can we see it? And of course, this is the hemline. Okay, now that I have all the lines, the next to do is to mark out my shoulder measurements. Don't forget, we mark my shoulder measurements from here is a 7½. So I'll go ahead and mark 7½ here. Then can we see it? I will mark, we already have this chest line. This is a chest line, and this is a waistline. This is the blouse length or hemline. So from here, I'm going to connect this 7½, this 7½. Then make sure that you go down ½ inch on this 7½. So I'm going to grab my pattern master, which is my ruler, straight ruler, and connect straight down. Can you see? That is my shoulder slope. Now from this place, I'm using 3×3 for my neck measurement. So 3 by 3. Can you see it? 3 by 3. And now I'm going to connect the neckline. So I'm connecting this, then connect the shoulder slope. Yeah, that's the shoulder slope. Now all I have to do now is to come in between here, that is 1 inch, and also divide whatever I'm having here by 2. I'm dividing it into 2, mark the midpoint. So then I'm going to come in here 1/2 inch. Now I'm connecting my armhole, making sure that my curve sits on the chest line. So I have this, can you see it? And now I'm just going to come out, connect like so. So I have this intact. Now the next thing is to take my bust measurement on the chest line. So that is 9 inches. So I'm marking 9 inches on the chest line, this 9 inches. And now I'm marking on the waistline, I'm marking 7 1/4, 7 1/4. So this 7 1/4. And on the hemline, I'm marking 9 1/2. On the hemline, I'm marking 9 1/2. So this is 9 1/2. Then I'm going to grab my curve and then use straight ruler to mark from here. Can you see to this point the waistline, and turn to the curved side, the curvy part of the, can you see it, and connect like so. Now I'm going to come here, and then blend the waistline. Then to add my SA, all I have to do is to mark 1 1/2. Can you see it? And then mark 1 1/2 and of course on this line mark 1 1/2. So I'm going to be connecting this. Can you see it? That is my seam allowance, inside seam allowance, side seam allowance. Okay, so you can see what I'm having here. Now I have the center front and I have the center back. For this very tutorial, we're not using that. I decided to draft this because we'll be needing this block to draft some of our designs. So in our next tutorial, I'll be showing us how to actually draft the one with what do you call it, the one with basic darts. But for this very one, this one is dartless one, and there are so many things we can use this one to do. So thank you. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.